On my Letterboxd account, I try to upkeep a top 100 list. It's a very loose list. It's just like 100 movies that I think would be my favorites, ones that I would rewatch and revisit, and they've had an impact on me. And I was gonna start a series today called Joel's Top 100, counting down 10 by 10 from 100, just for fun. I think that'd be a fun idea. But then I got kind of self-conscious because I realized the list is so fluid. Like, I don't know, like, if these are lifetime top 100 or current top 100, because I'm like, if it's lifetime, I gotta include Forrest Gump, because I spent 6 years thinking Forrest Gump was the best movie ever from the age of like 10 to 16 or something. And then I saw Enter the Void, and I'm like, oh, that's actually the best movie ever. But I just haven't revisited those movies in so long that I'm like, I can't rightfully rank those like subjectively or objectively, because I just don't know how I'd react to them. And funnily enough, I think I'd still like Forrest Gump. I think the sentimentality would still hit me. I'm a sucker for some schmaltzy drama, Hollywood kind of stuff. But I don't think Enter the Void would affect me as much. It's just kind of cool filmmaking, and I think I need a little more of an emotional core. And I think Enter the Void has an emotion, and that emotion is sad, but like not like human sad, more like just outright depressing. But it has nice moments too. But anyways, I digress. So instead, I wanted to make a video about outgrowing movies, or moving on, and how movies pass through you and how you change. Because there's so many movies like that, you know, you ask me 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, and I'd be like, yeah, that's a masterpiece, one of the best movies ever. And you ask me now, and I'm like, but I think I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty well the person I'm gonna be. Ideally in life, you change and you shift, and your opinions change with you, and all the way up till you're 80, you'll have changes, and you'll have changes of heart. You'll revisit a movie and you'll love it, or you'll revisit one you used to love and you'll think less of it. Like, I was obsessed with Memento as a kid. Like, I watched it probably 12 times, and I would show it to everyone. I'm like, Memento is one of the best movies. And then and then I revisited it in college with my roommate because he hadn't seen it, and we were kind of like, it was pretty good. It's just an interesting sort of puzzle. I don't know if it has like that emotional core I crave more and more the more I become a sappy, sentimental man. But I think that's kind of the beauty of movies. I think it's beautiful how they pass through you and how they'll affect you so much, and then you'll move on and grow and change, and looking back you'll be like, oh, I'm different now and I've changed, and measuring that difference is so interesting. Some movies I haven't outgrown. A good example, Synecdoche, New York. That's a movie that I watched it first in maybe 10th grade, and that was maybe too soon. I remember really liking it, but I'm like, oh, that was weird and interesting. But then I kept revisiting it, and each time I'm like, oh man, this is just hitting harder and harder. And it definitely has a lot to do with the subject matter. It's a movie about time and aging and losing things and growing older and losing your memory and losing your health. So yeah, each time I watch it, it kind of resonates a little differently, but that's just such a jam-packed movie. That's a movie that has so much to say, and each time it says something a little different to me. There's a scene at a funeral where Michelle Williams' character just says, "I used to be a baby," and starts crying, and it's a funny line. Sometimes I watch it, then other times it's a line that makes me well up, and it's just funny. It's funny how your headspace that week could even change how you take in a movie. You know, sometimes you watch a movie in a totally wrong headspace and you're like, that wasn't the time to watch that. Like, I watched Persona by Ingmar Bergman, and I was just like, I think I need to watch that when I'm an old Swedish man who has gone through more in life. It just felt a little abstract to me, and I felt like the abstraction wasn't working in service of the emotional experience. But who knows, in 20 years I'll watch Persona again and be like, yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I do like the intro. I think the intro is really bold and exciting, and it's still like bold and exciting 60 years later, or however many years later. But yeah, movies come and go and change, and you change and come and grow, and I think One thing I always talk about, how movies are a great tool for teaching and learning empathy and seeing like how others live and other experiences, and exposing yourself to the broader world beyond your limited life. The limited, that's a Synecdoche, New York, what's the word, Freudian slip? I don't know what it is. But anyways, but also they're great at reflecting on yourself and how you've changed. And I think that's one of the most rewarding parts of rewatching a movie and revisiting a movie. It shows you maybe how you've changed, maybe how you've stayed the same. Like, I've watched The Naked Gun over a dozen times, and I laugh every time, and that's a nice reminder that I could still just laugh at stupid, goofy humor. I'm not so lost to the sad, masochist inside me who just wants to cry. I could still just get a kick out of Naked Gun, Top Secret, one of the funniest movies ever, and I'll probably watch that until I'm 80. I'm gonna be the grandfather who's like, "Oh, you gotta watch Top Secret, you're gonna love it," and then I put it on. My grandkids are in their VR headsets that are built into their heads, and they're like, "I don't know what this is, Grandpa. I'm a superhero, and I don't know how the future's gonna look. I don't even want kids, so I don't know why I wound up with grandkids." That's an unfortunate side effect of that hypothetical. I went off the rails, and it got away from me. But I'm excited to rewatch movies that I've recently loved in the future. I think that's an exciting thought. I look at my top 100 list and I see some movies recently. Like, I loved The Hole by Tsai Ming Liang. That just hit me just right. It came at a very, very apropos time in my life. That's the sort of hopeless romantic, and I use that quite literally as hopeless. His movies have a very hopeless feel for the characters, but they still fall back on these romantic ideals, maybe a bit ignorantly or naively the characters do. But just watching that really hit, and I'm like, I want to rewatch that, but not right away. I need to rewatch it when I've gone through more and kind of weigh that difference. Some other movies that change with time: Close Up, Kiarostami. I've talked about Kiarostami, I've talked about Close Up, but I first saw it in a theater, and it was kind of a weird experience. I really liked it, and it touched me, but I didn't get the emotional side because I was afraid to cry. And watching it again, I'm just like, yeah, the technical, like, meta element really stuck with me the first time, but then I was just able to let myself go to the emotions of the movie. And I'm like, God, this is really speaking to something beyond the filmmaking. It's speaking to something very human and personal. And I think that's a really cool part about rewatching movies. And I don't know what to call this video now. You'll know what it's called by the time you watch it. I rambled in 100 different directions. I just want to get a video out on this channel. It's nice to sit down and talk about movies every now and then. I've been binging Douglas Sirk. He's a great golden age of Hollywood filmmaking. I don't know if it's the golden age, actually, but it's the 40s, 50s. I've been binging some of his movies, so maybe a video about him will be in order when I get through some more of them. But I love an oldie Hollywood movie. That's a good thing to turn on alone when you're a little sad and lonely. Something that believes in romance and love and but his stuff is pretty realistic too. So I rambled until the camera died. So I think that's a sign I need to just shut up and end the video. So I love you guys. I love movies. I hope you're having a nice weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.